You are listening to Diasporic Music on Black Power 96, and we you're listening to Melinda Francis, Norman Richmond, Lisa Watson on buttons, and on the line from New Jersey is Lawrence Hamm. Lawrence Hamm is the uh, one of the leaders of progressive, the organization called POP, People's Organization for Progress in Newark, New Jersey. And Mr. Hamm will be running for the U.S. Senate for the second time. And Mr. Hamm has been a big supporter of diasporic music. We definitely call on this young man when we're trying to raise some funds for the station. And Mr. Hamm is a great humanitarian. And Mr. Hamm, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good, my brother. How are you?
As Sam Cooke would say, wonderful, wonderful. I'm wonderful. Or as your fellow New Jersey man would say, perfect. That's Reuben Carter's. That's what you would ask Reuben Carter how he was feeling. He would always say, perfect.
Hurricane Carter.
Yeah, that young man was. He was at what's that Black Uhuru song? Reuben Hurricane Carter was a genuine character, brother. He was a character. He was,
out of Paterson, New Jersey.
Yes, sir. With Georgia and Alabama roots.
There you go.
Well, I guess the first thing before we get into your bid for the Senate at Newark, first of all, Newark, New Jersey is these. I don't know if that was the first mosque, but I'm beginning to. When I be reading history, every time you read, you think about history, you realize that history is being more new history is being uncovered every day. But it's always been my understanding that the first mosque, the Moorish American Science Temple of America, founded by Noble Drew Ali, was in Newark, New Jersey, and I guess Newark, New Jersey is Islam. Well, the East Coast is pretty big on Islam, but one of the imams, or the imam of one of the masjids, he's a Sunni Muslim, I presume, was just murdered in Newark. Could you talk about who he was and what exactly happened?
Well, the gentleman we're speaking of was Imam Hassan Sharif, who was the minister of Masjid Muhammad on South Orange Avenue in Newark, New Jersey. This mosque is a historic site in Newark with regards to the Black Liberation Movement. This used to be Temple number 25 years ago, some maybe more than 40 years ago, was Temple number 25 of the Nation of Islam. And then, as you know, Brother Norman, you being a historian, know that the Nation of Islam had a split, and then one section went with Elijah Muhammad's son, transitioning Wallace D. Muhammad, transitioning from the cosmology of the Nation of Islam to that of Orthodox Islam, and you mentioned Sunni Muslim, and then because I believe that Wallace D. Muhammad had formed the Bilalian community. I think that's what they were called maybe 30 years ago. So, and then eventually they made a full transition to Orthodox Islam and Sunni Islam. So Imam Hassan Sharif was the leader of that mosque, and he was coming out of the mosque having completed morning prayer at around 6 a.m. and somebody shot him to death at 6 a.m. in the morning. So this wasn't a random shooting. This was something premeditated. I mean, for somebody to wait for somebody to come out of morning prayer and then to shoot them and kill them. Now, the city of Newark has put up a $25,000 reward for information, but to my knowledge, I could be wrong, unless I missed the news report, they have not yet apprehended the person that killed Imam Hassan Sharif. He was beloved by the community. Not only was he a religious leader, he was an outspoken anti-violence leader. And there's been some suspicion that, because he was active in the community, trying to clean that community up, and I'm not just talking about litter-wise, I'm talking about drug dealing and other things. He might have upset some criminal elements, and they may have carried this out. But that's all speculation. There's been no arrest, and no evidence. So everybody's speculating as to why someone would kill Imam Hassan Sharif. He had a long history in Newark. I just learned recently that he was a former boxer. He's an athlete, a boxer, and just well loved in the community. And in the after, almost the day or the next day after he was shot and killed, or maybe it was that evening that he was killed, there was a big rally in front of the Masjid Muhammad to protest his death, with many community leaders, elected officials, and others speaking there, condemning his murder. And then this past, was it Thursday? But one day this week, it might have been Thursday, Wednesday, I think it was Wednesday, there was a huge prayer meeting held at the Robert Treat Hotel, where I suspect probably about 400 people were in attendance. I was there myself to pay respects. I was at the rally too the night, that night after, on the day that he was killed, and I was one of the many people who spoke that night. But it's a shame, and the entire community is grieving his loss. And this couldn't come at a more inopportune time. It's how ironic that I had just attended a week or so before the death of Imam Hassan Sharif. I was at a press conference. I was in the audience. I wasn't a participant in the press conference. Press conference called by the city of Newark, talking about the progress they had made in terms of reducing the number of homicides for the city of Newark in 2023. And literally the following week, Imam Hassan Sharif was killed. And it was, what amazed me is how, for a moment, it seemed like Newark, New Jersey was being watched by people all over the world. The outpouring of grief and condolences came from people all around the world. My understanding is, and I could be wrong here, but I think I heard that they may have raised maybe around $200,000 for him, for his family, which came primarily from the Muslim community all around the world. So this is a story, this is an ongoing story, and I join with everyone who has said, who condemned the murder and who has urged that person to turn themselves in, because it's a terrible thing when, your religious leaders can't go to and from prayer without risking being shot to death.
Listening to diasporic music on Black Power 96, I'm going to turn it over to Melinda after I ask you one more question. There was a gentleman came on YouTube the other day and claimed that Ras Baraka, the son of Amiri Baraka and the current mayor of Newark, New Jersey, he was saying that Ras Baraka is a Muslim. That's not true, is it?
To tell you the truth,
you don't know.
I don't know. I mean, he certainly, the mayor of Newark does not, he doesn't wear his kufi or, there's no outward appearance that he's a Muslim, but he was the guest speaker at the prayer meeting that was held for Imam Hassan Sharif at the Robert Treat Hotel. And he's pretty much, I don't know if he is a Muslim or not, but he is very well respected and well liked by the Muslim community in Newark.
Okay. I guess, Melinda, I guess I know you have some questions, right?
Well, I mean, we haven't spoken to you in a while. What's going on? Maybe we can start about the Senate run, get into that.
Right. Well, we've been doing a lot, doing what Pop does. I mean, we had a march to protest the genocidal war in Gaza and to demand justice for the Palestinians. We had that march last weekend. We had a rally against police brutality on the 1st of January, specifically to talk about the death of Carl Dorsey, who was killed on January 1st, 2022, I believe. Carl Dorsey was killed in Newark, New Jersey by police. He was unarmed when he was killed. So that case is still in play. So we had a rally for him on the 1st, which was the anniversary of his death, along with other family members of police brutality victims. And the campaign is going forward. We had a campaign event in Jersey City last night, and that event was actually co-sponsored by the family of Andrew Washington, who was killed by police in Jersey City, New Jersey. I believe that was the end of August when Andrew Washington was killed. But his family actually, in appreciation for the work that we were doing to support them, they in turn co-sponsored a campaign rally that was held for me in Jersey City, New Jersey. It's very interesting because this is the Dr. King weekend. So the event was at a establishment called the All Pros Lounge. That just happened to be directly across the street. I mean, directly across the street from a Martin Luther King monument in Jersey City. It's right next to the Martin Luther King Jr. Drive light rail station. It's a very tall monument, might be 12, 14 feet high. And it's right next to the light rail station. So what we did is that we combined the campaign event with a Martin Luther King rally, and we actually rallied yesterday outside at the monument, trying to educate people as they walk by about Dr. King and what he stood for. And then after about an hour or so, we went inside to have the event for the campaign.
You are listening to Diasporic Music on Black Power 96. We are speaking with Lawrence Hamm, who is running for senator. And do you have some more questions, Melinda?
Well, since we haven't talked to you in a while, what do you think is? I guess Gaza is on everybody's mind, but what are you thinking that we need to keep in mind going into 2024?
Well, I think 2024 is going to be a year of intense struggle. I know that might sound almost cliche, but we're on the verge of World War today. And the spark, not that we weren't already moving in that direction with the saber rattling that U.S. imperialism was doing, saber rattling in Europe with the war in Ukraine, and saber rattling in the Pacific Ocean, engaging in actions to antagonize the People's Republic of China. It was already getting pretty contentious. But now with this genocidal war on Gaza and the majority of nations of the world calling for a ceasefire, and, U.S. imperialism pushing forward to continue to provide aid to Israel to prosecute this genocidal war. And now with the U.S. Navy firing on the country of Yemen, because it's one of the few companies. It's ironic, isn't it, that Yemen is one of the poorest countries in that part of the world, but yet they are the country that stood up in a very direct way, in a very meaningful way, in a very powerful way against Zionism and imperialism. They essentially were stopping these folks that don't live in Palestine, don't live in Israel, stopping these ships from providing military and other aid to Israel. And so the U.S. Fired on them earlier in the week and fired on them again, I understand, yesterday. I think they launched a missile attack against Yemen. So this conflict that started in Gaza has spread out to the rest of the region, with the U.S. bombing Syria, bombing Lebanon, and now with Israel bombing Syria, bombing Lebanon, bombing Palestine, and now the U.S. fleet backing up the Israelis, U.S. fleet firing on Yemen. And I think I saw a picture this morning that there were like 1 million people out in the street protesting in Sana'a, or one of the major cities there in Yemen. So it's going to be pretty contentious, and not to mention the presidential election, where it looks like the ex-president, who was defeated, twice impeached, 4 times indicted, looks like he's going to be the standard bearer for the Republican Party in the 2024 presidential election. And then on the Democratic side, there's contention within the Democratic Party, because all the polls show that the overwhelming majority of Americans want a ceasefire. An even bigger majority of Democrats want a ceasefire. The majority of nations in the world want a ceasefire. Everybody wants a ceasefire except Joe Biden, and the contradictions are heating up. And I think we're going to be in for quite a ride in 2024.
You are listening to Diasporic Music on Black Power 96. Now, we are commemorating the 10th anniversary of the joining of the ancestors of one of my major mentors, Amiri Baraka, and Amiri Baraka's book Blues People came out in 1964, and I wanted you to talk about some of the musical figures that have come out of Newark, New Jersey now. Andy Bay and Salome Bay, and I think Geraldine Bay. They all of them were born in Newark, New Jersey. Their father was a member of the Moorish American Science Temple. I guess one of the original members of the Moorish American Science Temple, what we talked about. Noble Drew Ali started out, I think, in 1913, but he became a Sunni Muslim. And could you talk about some of the musical people that came out of Newark, New Jersey? I guess if I'm not mistaken, Wayne Shorter, I think he was from Newark, and maybe the biggest, I might be wrong, might be Mtume, right?
Oh,
I shouldn't say it.
yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He lived in Newark for a time. Of course, Mtume is strongly associated with New Jersey.
Right.
Hello?
I'm here. I'm sorry.
Okay. Mtume was strongly associated with New Jersey. The years that I knew him, he resided in South Orange, New Jersey. But when he first came to Jersey, and when he first came to Jersey, he connected with Amiri Baraka, and for a time was part of Baraka's organization, if not organization, certainly the movement. And so he's one of the best well-known contemporary artists from New Jersey. Another, of course, Amiri Baraka, not a musician per se, but a writer and artist in terms of his literary works, his plays, his poetry, his essays. And as a matter of fact, he wrote a lot about Black music. And as you mentioned, Brother Norman, one of his most famous works is a book about jazz, and that's Blues People, But Newark, historically, has had its share of musicians. It's a very interesting little city. It's always had like a strong race movement of one kind or another. I had mentioned earlier the Masjid Muhammad, where Imam Hassan Sharif presided, and but in its first iteration, it was Temple number 25 of the Nation of Islam. And although the Nation of Islam did not start in Newark, New Jersey, it started in Detroit with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The Newark Temple was one of the strongest mosques in the nation. And it also had its share of controversy because we know some of those that had been accused and convicted of being involved with the assassination of Malcolm X. A couple of them came out of the mosque in Newark. A couple of others came out of Paterson, New Jersey. So Newark has had a long history of cultural workers, and I think will continue to do so.
You're listening to Diasporic Music on Black Power 96. I think we're winding down. Is there anything else you would like to add, sir?
Well, the thing I want to do is urge people to support this station, to give generously. This is one of the few stations where grassroots activists like myself can come on and talk about basically whatever we think is important to the community. We need stations. We need this stations and stations like it to help keep our movement informed. So I hope that people will give and give liberally. Make your donation today. And so that this station and this particular radio show can remain viable, because these are beacons. Just like a radio station has a huge antenna that serves as a beacon to broadcast that signal out, to the listening area. This station is a beacon to get the information out to our movement, so that we can continue to fight in the most informed way possible. So I urge everybody to please give and give today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And we would urge everyone to support your bid for the Senate. And you're welcome to, we'll definitely be having you back sooner than later.
Well, I want to be back as soon as possible, because it's going to be jumping down here. It's jumping now, brother. It's going to be jumping down here in 24. I'm telling you, every day we wake up, it's something different. Now the U.S. imperialism just got out of Afghanistan. Now we're getting ready to let Zionists, the Zionists that could, and fascists that control the government of Israel, now let them drag us into a war with the objective is to drag us into a war with Iran. And that would be disastrous, not just for the countries involved. It would be disastrous for the region and perhaps even for the world. So we got to continue to build up our forces, get in these streets. The encouraging sign has been the huge demonstrations that we have seen all around the United States, all around the world, and even in Israel, for a permanent ceasefire to this genocidal war, for the release of unqualified, unfettered humanitarian aid to the Palestinian people in Gaza. So everybody got to keep their eyes open and be ready to move on a moment's notice.
And I just wanted to say that I'm very happy to be a part of a station that has historically supported the Palestinians, and it is not. Many times you can lose your employment, lose your life even for supporting the Palestinians. So I am really. I want to commend Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the African People's Socialist Party, and the Uhuru movement for, helping put together a radio station where we can bring people on like yourself and talk about, we can actually support the Palestinians and combine the Zionists, because I remember we're like Kwame Ture. I'm speaking for myself. I've never been anti-Jewish, but I'm definitely anti-Zionist to the bone. I want to make that clear.
You hit the nail on the head, because what we have now is a kind of 21st century McCarthyism, where anyone who dares to criticize Israel, they'll get docked. They'll have their picture on electronic billboards, on trucks going to and fro in the city. They'll be put on the Canary Mission list, which will keep you from getting employment. They had a lot of ways they have a lot of ways to try to suppress us from standing up for the Palestinians who are facing war and genocide and war crimes. And I'm so proud that South Africa stepped up and is taking Israel into the International Criminal Court And it's just the height of irony that they are in the Netherlands, which sent colonists to South Africa 300 years ago. And their descendants set up the system of apartheid that Black South Africans struggled against and overcame. And now the South Africans are back in the Netherlands. They're in the Netherlands where the Afrikaner colonizers came from. And they're arguing they're arguing for self-determination on behalf of the Palestinian people, and doing very well at making a legal case for the genocide that's going on in Gaza right now as we speak.
Yes, sir. So with that, as they say in Swahili, habarigani, my brother, or the Tutaonana. Tutaonana. That's Tutaonana. I'm getting mixed up. Yeah.
All right. Take care, my
All right. And you're listening to Diasporic Music. We're getting ready to talk to, we're getting ready to air the Jazz Zone with T.N. Providence, and stay tuned for the Horn Report with Dr. Gerald Charles Horn.